Hello and welcome to today's video on high altitude investing. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on the recent panic move in the market. We had about a $20 billion sell-off over the weekend, and I'm going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of kind of how this happened and what my thoughts are as we move forward on the price action. So we're going to be starting with Bitcoin. Let's get right into this. Alright, so normally on Mondays I would be doing my from start to finish TA on the highly requested coins, but because we had such the panic move over the weekend, I decided to push that until tomorrow so that I can discuss kind of my thoughts on the overall market for a minute. So what we saw happen, if we look at coinmarketcap.com, we can refresh these charts. This is just coinmarketcap.com/charts. We can see that we went from about 176 billion to 145 billion over the weekend, and now we've rebounded to, well, I guess we're at about 142 billion actually in combined total cryptocurrency market cap. So that's a pretty big sell-off at the top here, and because this is a pretty big wave, this is very parabolic. It's moving quickly and it's very volatile. We could see a bigger retracement coming out of this move. So here's kind of what I would be looking for if we do see that. First we want to see a rejection and resistance. So if it's going to go further down, then we'd want to see it kind of climb up to the $160 billion range and reject and fall back down. That would be an indication that we would see more bearish movement in the markets coming. But if we climb up towards the $160 billion, $170 billion range and then break out, then we could see another pump in these markets before a bigger retracement. So if we look at the Bitcoin prices alone, we've had a rally out from this first breakout at 1,260. We had that rally up to 3,000. Got overbought very quickly, fell back to the trend support and the Ichimoku cloud support at around 1800. This is when I made my Is Cryptocurrency Dead video and told people it's not, and that they should be buying up coins because I saw another wave in the market coming. And then we saw this push up to $5,000 in Bitcoin. This is where I posted in my entries channel for my VIPs to sell off their Bitcoin, because I knew that we were in, well, if we look in the smaller time frame, the reason that I told them to sell off is if we zoom into the smaller time frame and then we just take this moving average off and we take this blue line and we delete that temporarily here, we had a rising wedge formation here. And so what that means is the prices just rose up and kind of coiled into this wedge formation. Let's see. Let's get this a little more accurate here. There we go. So prices came up, bounced, rejected, bounced, rejected, bounced, rejected, and then kind of overbought. A little bit FOMO up at the top here brought the prices out of the wedge, and then it retraced back. So in a rising wedge, you expect to fall back to at least the center of the wedge. So we did see that occur in Bitcoin. So that's kind of how I saw that move coming. One of the things, at least, that was pointing towards that bigger retracement in the market was that rising wedge formation. Buyers kind of got exhausted up that high. So we do see the potential for a pullback to around 3,600, 3,500 in Bitcoin. So this would be the next buy range I would be interested in. But it really depends on a few things. First of all, we can draw a support line. If we zoom in here, delete this, because the market could really go either way right here. But we're just trying to figure out what the most likely is. If we draw a support line here, we can see that this candlestick is on it right now. It's actually a little bit below it. So it would have to bounce here very quickly. And we would want to see that this support trend doesn't fall. We'd want it to hold the support all the way back up to 5K along this area if we would expect more bullish movement coming. Now, kind of what I see happening, mainly because if we look at the weekly candlesticks, we did kind of have this huge sell-off. So unless this weekly candlestick within the next, let's see, 3 days, until the 9th, we have until the 9th before the next weekly candlestick opens. So if it opens and this red candlestick is still bearish, so if this candlestick on the 9th, if this candlestick closes on the weekly bearish, then we could definitely suspect another bear move down to 3,600. If this candlestick for some reason pushes up on the bull side very quickly here and goes up to 4,900 and closes bullish, then we would suspect more bullish movement in the markets, probably up to around 5,500, a push up to 5,500. Now, because this candlestick is already forming like this, we have to just wait until the 9th before we really know on the weekly candlesticks. But for now, these candlesticks are looking pretty bearish, so we would have to have a very, very quick recovery. On the short-term time frames for Bitcoin, if we look maybe closer into the hourly, and then we pop this up so we can see a little better. On the short-term time frames, we have fallen onto support. As you can see, this is an area that we rounded off, had a bearish sell-off to about 3,500. From 4,400, we had a bear sell-off. Kind of rounded off here, and we've landed back onto that support zone. So I do suspect a short-term bounce here in the market. Probably back up to resistance areas about 4,500, possibly even up to 4,700. It really depends. We do have a potential cipher pattern forming. So what that would look like is we have the potential of a cipher pattern forming here in the Bitcoin prices. So we could see a push up to like the 3,700, 3,800 range out of this cipher pattern, but it just really depends on how support holds and if we can bounce up. We would need to see this D leg formed, so we'd need to see a bounce off support here and it to go all the way up to here for this pattern, and then we'd suspect a fall back to around the center of the pattern, because that's how these cipher patterns work. So it really depends. I do suspect a short-term bounce here because this is a major support area. So based on probabilities, we should expect somewhat of a bounce in the market, like I said, to at least 4,600. So if you're in Bitcoin and if you're in altcoins, this is a good time to exercise sizing down. So if you're over leveraged in your account, if you have too much money inside of altcoins, too much of your percentage of your portfolio or Bitcoin, so let's say that you have 10 Bitcoin, right? And all of them is in these markets and you're all in on these markets. This might be a good spot, especially if you've been buying all along this trend, which we have in the VIP area. And I talked about it on my channel when I said, is cryptocurrency dead? And I was expecting a bounce here at around 1,800. We did get that bounce. So we've been buying all along here. In fact, we've had, on Bitcoin at least, we've had 150% gains from where we started accumulating. And I've been buying the dips along the way up too, but just from the bottom to the top, we've seen over double our money. So selling off right here in this range is a good spot to be taking profits. Don't beat yourself up that you didn't nail the 500 point. Just get out at this top, because it's very possible we do see more bearish movement coming, and it's smart to hold US dollar tether. I at least have 30% USDT in my account at all times, because first of all, if you have too big of positions, then you can't think clearly. You want to win too bad, and so this psychological thing kind of happens where you end up overbuying the market and then leveraging too much of your portfolio into these coins. And then when we see a bear move come, usually what ends up happening is people won't sell because they want to be right, and then they ride it all the way back down. I mean, you know, we could see a move down to 3,600 like I'm saying. So I would suspect a little bounce like this. Like that. And so if we do see that type of a bounce, then a lot of people that have too much money in their account, too much leveraged in and not enough US dollar tether for stability, then what you'll see is people will get really scared here as it dips down, but they won't sell it. And then the second time it dips down, a lot of times they sell it, and then they sell the dip when you're supposed to be buying again at 3,600. So, you know, that just goes to show that you want to keep a clear head in trading, so you don't want to put too much of your account balance on any single trade, or you will care way too much about the outcome and you'll drive yourself crazy. So definitely this is a good spot to be setting sell orders, you know, a little bit here. If you're in Bitcoin and you have too much and you need to get out and get yourself a little bit of tether, maybe set your sell orders between 4,500 and 4,600. That's a pretty good range to be downsizing your positions. But you know, for me, I took a lot of my profit out at 5,000, and then I actually got stopped out right here at 4,400 with the rest of my Bitcoin position. So I'm, as far as Bitcoin goes, I'm in tether right now. I'm still holding a few of my altcoins, but usually they follow the price of Bitcoin. So if we see a bigger retracement in Bitcoin, it's very possible we see a bigger retracement in altcoins. So this is just kind of a warning for you guys. You know, don't panic sell right here, because like I said, I do expect a short-term bounce in the markets. So then you'll have a little bit of a better spot to get out on. But at the very least, give yourself a little bit more USDT in this as we bounce up right here. Get yourself a little more USDT so that you're not over leveraged in your account, and then you're not overthinking the trades, because what ends up happening is if you're over leveraged, you overthink. So just ride the waves in the market. Yeah, like I said, expect to sell a little bit on this bounce, and prepare yourself to buy the dip as we retrace back. So that's kind of my thoughts on Bitcoin here. Is there's a chance of a retracement back to the 3,600 range, and possibly even lower, but we'll see when we get there kind of how it plays out. For sure, I'm going to buy the dip at 3,600 with a tight stop loss, and then be prepared to move forward as these markets continue to make their cycles and waves. So yeah, I hope this helped a lot of people out. I know that the panic has been kind of intense in the markets. I mean, $23 billion plus in sell-offs just over the weekend. So it is scary to see this, especially since when we saw the top over here, closer to, let's see, drag this chart back. As we started to see the top in the market over here in June, a lot of coins retraced very hard. We saw huge sell-offs, people panic sold, got out, and the worst part is a lot of people panic sold the lowest retracement here, the dip. A lot of people sold all of their coins at 66 billion in market cap because they got scared and they didn't know they were selling the bottom. So it is scary to see this type of a sell-off at the top, but you don't want to trade based on emotion. Keep your head on straight. If you're trading based on emotion, you probably have too big of positions. Downsize your positions, because when you have tons of money in something, again, it's that psychological thing starts to come in, and you start making bad trading decisions because you want to be right too bad. It's not about being right every time. It's about being right like 70% of the time, or like 76% of the time, and having your winners bigger than your losers, because you cannot get right on every single trade. I don't care who you are, how long you've been trading, how pro you are. You will not be able to get every single trade. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today in the markets. Is we should expect some pulling back here. Downsize your positions and prepare to buy the dip. I know a lot of people made a lot of money on the way up, so let's not get greedy. Let's stick to the trading rules, which is when we have a shift in momentum and we have a shift in probabilities. And right now we have a shift in probabilities on the bear side. So we want to exercise patience, and we want to exercise profit taking in this area as we prepare for more bearish or more possible bearish movement on the downside. Again, you know, it's about probability, so I could be wrong. We could see a bounce clear up in the market right here, right off from where we're at, and a breakout in resistance. That's possible, but right now the odds are showing towards a bigger retracement in the market. So that's what I'm betting my money on, is a bigger retracement. That's what I want to advise you guys to bet your money on. And of course, I will be updating if we have a significant change. If we have a breakout in the market, I'll, you know, make another video and be like, hey, we had a breakout in the market. It's time to get back in and prepare yourself. But right now, USDT is a great spot to hold your capital, because we could see more bearish movement. So I just wanted to make this little warning video for you guys. I hope this helped a lot of people. I know that this is scary, but don't get scared. Just think logically, prepare yourself, and get ready to make money on the next wave up, because after this dump is when we see the huge parabolic move in cryptocurrency, and this is where I expect it to go parabolic to the point where it doesn't even make sense how valuable it is anymore. And you know, that's where we're going to see a ton of money flood into cryptocurrencies. It's possible that we see $1 trillion market cap. I know that sounds crazy right now, but that's just how markets move. Once they start to go parabolic, they go to unbelievable highs. And based on what I can calculate, it's not too far out of reach to think that we could hit 500 billion, even $1 trillion market cap down the road in cryptocurrency. And you know, I expect more parabolic movement in this pump. I don't think that this is the quote pop of the bubble. I think this is just a small retracement as it's preparing for the big move. So don't get discouraged. I know that there's some bearish fundamentals. I think some stuff to have to do with China and ICOs. I think they're banned out in China. And you know, a lot of people trade based on news, so that's just going to cause more panic in the markets. But I don't actually trade based on news, because I can see all the chart patterns fine and use those with actual probabilities, whereas news is kind of guessing work, in my opinion, depending on the way that you implement it. So, you know, I do see more bearish movement coming, is basically what I'm telling you guys. I know this isn't news that you want to hear, but it's news that I felt like I had to tell you, because I'm not going to hold back when I see, you know, a setup for more bearish movement coming, especially since a lot of you guys have a lot of money in this, and I would hate to see you guys get greedy and then lose money on the way down. So take your profits out and get ready to buy the dip. That's the message for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. More great videos to come, and as always, stay profitable.